We're back with another interesting story today, folks, on the topic of Austerity Britain. Your child is no longer special needs. Many of Britain's slow learners will soon be removed from the special needs register, taking away the extra help they are provided with in schools, as ministers claim they have potentially been wrongfully labelled. However, in a time of austerity, when the government are looking at every possible method for balancing the books, it wouldn't be surprising if this was another heartless cost-cutting measure. It always makes me chuckle how, as soon as the debt gets too big, after we've bailed out the banks and funded too many illegal wars and propped up the EU for so long, that all of a sudden, all the public services no longer work, according to the government. And to make them better, because it's always about making them better and improving them, funding must be cut. I wonder if those two things go hand in hand. Of course, I'm being deliberately obtuse. Everything the coalition government have done since they've got into power is simply about saving money to pay back the bankers who they borrowed from to fund their illegal projects that the people never got to vote on in the first place. And this is across the political spectrum. The Lib Lab Con are all for the illegal wars. They're all for the EU. They were all for bailing out the banks. And they're all for cuts. Labour want cuts, just at a slightly slower rate, and they say they're going to do this a little bit differently, and they're not quite clear about what they want to do. But of course they're in opposition right now, so they can talk the talk, because they've got no one to really answer to. They're just playing the left puppet. And all of this is to simply try and prop up the failed financial system which they all bow down to, whether consciously or not. None of them are tackling it, so they're effectively bowing down to it. Now, I'm not a socialist. I have a lot of time for the libertarian, real free market concept. But you have to understand that we don't get there overnight, and pulling the rug from under people who are on the government fishing line, if you will, pulling that rug from under them to feed a corrupt system is not exactly the way we make the transition. If there are any libertarians out there or free market capitalists praising the Conservatives, I don't think they have a full grasp on the agendas at play. So what the government are doing with the special needs system is once again widening the goalposts and redefining what special needs or children that need assistance actually means. So now hundreds of thousands of children who are getting extra help, an assistant helping them take notes or keeping them focused or that kind of thing, that's going to be taken away from thousands of children. Now, the Daily Mail have put up an article claiming the special needs system is a scam and teachers are abusing it to get funding and it's all to fudge exam results and league tables. But it's always the same with the Daily Mail. They take the minority that abuse the system and exaggerate it like it's the entire system. It used to be all about, and it still is, all about the lazy benefit scroungers. They're the ones pulling down the economy. While they ignore that there's actually record unemployment right now and people can't get a job. And people who genuinely need benefits are being forced through the back to work schemes. The disabled, the mentally ill, the new matrix that determines whether people can get disability benefits or not, has pretty much put 80%, I believe the figure is, of mentally ill people back into the system. That tells you it's not working for the mentally ill people. It's about extracting as much tax from people as possible. And I'm sure the special needs system isn't perfect, and sometimes it probably is used as an excuse for poor teaching, as the Daily Mail also points out, that teachers who just can't teach are getting kids extra help because their classrooms aren't effective. But removing that help doesn't actually improve the teaching, does it? So why are the kids being punished for the alleged lazy teachers? There's also this idea that's come out of this that If a child is given extra help because they've gotten behind, because they've been disrupted, or things aren't going too well at home or whatever, then it doesn't actually count. And the papers have published statistics that poor people are more likely to be labelled as needing assistance because they're not brought up correctly. As if the evil poor people, because of this, shouldn't be given assistance, that it doesn't count as needing extra help. And what that implies to me is that you're only entitled to an education under the coalition government if you're 100% emotionally stable and happy and have involved parents and have been brought up in such a way that you knuckle down and get the work done. Everybody else should just struggle because it's their own fault and they don't have an obvious condition that can be labelled special needs. Of course, that ironically continues the cycle of poor and uneducated kids going on to have kids that end up poor and uneducated. Really, it should be simple. If a child isn't succeeding, then help them until they are succeeding. Whether they're mentally ill, missing limbs, or just struggling because of stress from outside the classroom. But of course, we don't have common sense in the world of politics, do we? So for more on this story and other alternative news headlines, please visit wideshut.co.uk and the links in the info box below if you're watching on YouTube.
I think that